I'd like to call the Town of Hebron Town Council February 5th meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. For those who are able to join us, to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. That brings us to item 3, additions and changes to the agenda. Does the town manager have any?
I do not.
Does the town council have any?
I have one. I'd like to just give a summary of our latest discussions around the website modernization.
Would you like to add that under new business?
Yes, please.
Would you like to make that 9C?
I would. 9C is fine.
All right, and then that means any other new business will drop to 9D. Any objection from the council?
None.
Okay, great. Any other additions and changes to the agenda from the council? Great. Right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4, which is public comment. This section of the agenda is reserved for persons in attendance who wish to briefly address the town council. The council requests that a person's comments be limited to a single period lasting 3 minutes or less. While the council respects the right of the public to provide comment, this time is not intended for open discussion or a council response. Residents who wish to request a dialogue should make arrangements to do so through the town manager's office or the council chair or any other member sitting up here. Persons wishing to comment online should type comment and your name in the chat box and you will be recognized. We'll start with in-person public comment. Is there anyone in person who would like to make a public comment? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
And if you could just come and stand just next to the table right over here. Perfect. Thank you so much. And your name and your street address, please.
Rob Poudre, 31 Mile. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Earlier this week, before another town meeting, someone introduced me as Rob from Facebook. So I guess that's my reputation now. I hope you've seen some of my thoughts on the DPW project online and in the River East. I know how seriously you take the views of the residents. That's why I'm here to speak directly to you. When the Wharton parcel was set aside, I waited patiently for the DPWAC to do its work. I was encouraged to keep an open mind. I projected cost from $28 million. The final cost had been much higher.
I'm trying.
Can you mute caller one, please? Great, thank you. Go ahead. Josh.
Sorry, can I reclaim my?
Yeah. Go for it.
However, the projected cost reaching $28 million, with the final cost likely much higher, I felt it was time to speak up. Let's look at this proposal, what it means for taxpayers. 3 mil increase. $770 per year for a home assessed at $250,000. Staggering $1,500 per year for a home assessed at $500,000. That's before considering any other increase already being discussed. We have a very difficult job. For a small town like ours, it's simply too expensive. I also want to be clear that I'm not just a contrarian on social media, which I am. I also served on the Parks and Rec during the Burnt Hill Park referendum. Andy, you may remember this. First estimate we received was $7 million. We all looked at each other and thought, this is not going to flatter voters. Through the hard work of a lot of talented people, especially our incredible director, Rich Calarco, the cost was reduced to $4 million. And even then, it only passed by a handful of votes. My instincts tell me that $30 million DPW facility is not going to flatter the voters. I want to express my respect for the members of the DPWAC. I've spoken with several of them. They've been thoughtful and generous with their time. But at the last meeting, I heard members trying to estimate what Wharton would cost today using different sources and rough calculations. I urge caution. One proposal before you will come with fully vetted, professionally developed numbers. The other will be based on back of the napkin math. Those two things are not comparable. At that same meeting, I sensed a genuine willingness from the committee to share documents with the public, ending a check with the town attorney. I'll simply say this. If a public body wants to be transparent and an attorney advises against transparency, it might be time to seek new counsel. Finally, I want to acknowledge something important. None of you created this situation.
Thanks.
Oh, I reclaimed my time from the...
I paused you.
Okay. Most of you weren't even on this body. But you do have the authority and the responsibility to bring balance back to the discussion and insist on a more affordable path forward. Thank you for your time. You face difficult decisions that will shape this town's finances for decades. I wish you wisdom as you move forward, and I stand ready to help in any way you believe I can contribute. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other in-person public comment? Eric?
Good start, yeah.
I'm ready to switch again to Indra.
Excellent. Terry McManus, 169 North Street, Hebron, Connecticut. Madam Chair, I stand before you feeling a lucky citizen. While participating in town meetings for many years, my intent became much more focused after the nightmare of COVID. I set out to understand why communication seemed to become harder and harder to achieve. Through continued participation in the asking of differing questions and differing subjects, I've increased my understanding, and that makes me a lucky person. And I think a conclusion that I cemented in my head is that most citizens and most board members of this town are earnest. Most are not politicians, just hardworking citizens doing what it takes to raise their families. And I believe that this honesty of intent extends to the veracity of belief one has in their statements. Making a mistake in their communication does not mean that they are attempting to be disingenuous. I believe that most citizens do their own thinking, and I believe to suggest that some don't can be detrimental to the process of debate. This very council that I stand in front of right now has been struggling over the last couple of years to land on an ability to use social and print media to ensure that the council is not misunderstood. In fact, it was your discussions that led me to learn the art of social media to further my understanding and to help me find a way to add value to the debate. And boy, howdy, it's been hard, but it does help me. The other day, I learned something about a possible intent of this council in response to something I posted. Accurately, in my opinion, but not informed enough to understand what this council's intent was. A response from a member of this council helped raise my understanding and expectations for what this council is planning. That's good. That was a win-win for social media. No aspersions were made that questioned anyone's veracity or motives. No statements were made that could make someone think that citizens possibly don't think for themselves. And I learned something I was not aware of. I applaud the council's embrace of using social media. You're the ones that have led me to experiment with it also. And for that, I thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other in-person public comment?
I'll wait to your second comment period.
All right, thank you, Dave. Any public comment online? I don't see any.
I don't see any.
Great. We will move on to item number 5, good to know special recognition. We have a Black History Month proclamation that every member of the town council has signed. And I would ask my colleague Claudia Riley if you are ready to read it into the record.
Will do. The town of Hebron celebrates Black History Month, whereas during Black History Month, Americans of all walks of life have come together during the month of February to honor the accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas Black culture is American culture and Black stories are essential to the ongoing story of the United States. And whereas Hebron played a remarkable role in both preventing a local enslaved couple, Caesar and Lois Peters, from being sold and provided a welcoming community for freed slaves to live, work, and educate their children here after the Civil War. And whereas Black people have achieved triumphs, successes, and progress, as seen in the end of chattel slavery, dismantling of Jim Crow, segregation in the South, increased political representation at all levels of government, desegregation of educational institutions, and the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, among other notable accomplishments. And whereas it is essential that we take time to celebrate the immeasurable contributions of Black Americans, honor the legacies and achievements of generations past, and continue to address and work towards reversing injustices of the past. And whereas the 2026 Black History Month theme marks a historic centennial, 100 years of nationally commemorating Black history. In 1915, Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson and fellow scholars founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, institutionalizing the teaching, study, and celebration of Black history A decade later, in 1925, Dr. Carter G. Woodson established Negro History Week, which evolved into the Black History Month observance that has become an integral part of American culture and the global community. And now, therefore, be it hereby proclaimed by the town of Hebron that the month of February 2026 is Black History Month and recognizes, appreciates, and honors African Americans for their leadership, commitment, and vision to improving the health, well-being, and safety of all who live in the town of Hebron. And be it further proclaimed that the town of Hebron calls on community members to observe Black History Month and to recognize how diversity strengthens our communities and improves the quality of life for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. That brings us to item 6, appointments and resignations. The first one is a Planning and Zoning Commission resignation. Jan, I'd ask for you to read that before the
Sure.
motion.
Move that the Hebron Town Council accept the resignation of Brenda Nicolo from the Hebron Planning and Zoning Commission with regret and thanks for her service. Further, that the Town Council designate Friday, February 13, 2026 as the posting date for the vacancy notice. The 35th and final day by which nominations shall be received is Friday, March 20th, 2026.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And if you wish to abstain, Jan Lawrence.
Jan Lawrence, aye.
Claudia Riley.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Keith Pettit.
Keith Pettit, aye.
Sean Fitzgerald.
Sean Fitzgerald, aye.
Myself, Tiffany Teely, aye. Thank you. Next, we have a Public Building Committee appointment. And Keith, would you mind reading that motion?
I move that the Hebron Town Council appoint Richard Steiner to the Public Building Committee for a term to run until December 2026.
Okay, well, I'll open this up to discussion. I suppose it's exciting news for us to have Richard Steiner back. It wasn't part of the plan. We know that he, wanted to take some time back, but it seems as though there isn't someone to replace him, and he has generously offered to take his seat back on the Public Building Committee, and his expertise is deeply appreciated and welcomed, and he's, made our town a much better place for it. So he is asking to be appointed again to the Public Building Committee.
Yeah, I think we should make the public aware that there's lots of opportunities to serve the town out there. I know that the town staff has sent notifications to the town committees of the current openings, and hopefully people that have, personal or professional experience that's applicable to these different openings can step forward and help serve the community that we all love so much. I hope they do come forward.
I agree.
Agreed.
Any further discussion on this appointment? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain, Jan Lawrence.
Jan Lawrence, aye.
Claudia Riley.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Keith Pettit.
Keith Pettit, aye.
Sean Fitzgerald.
Sean Fitzgerald, aye.
And Tiffany Teely, aye. Thank you. That brings us to item 7, the town manager's report. Andy?
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't be surprised that we are heavily into the town's budget. See some numbers as late as today, so we're still finalizing that. We should have an idea tomorrow, at least at some sort of what we're looking at. But we had the resident troopers increase today. We got Connecticut Waters increase today for the hydrants and things like that. Are we waiting on anybody else for numbers? I know we got most of them.
I think those were the last few that we.
So we should be able to dive in tomorrow and try to put a front page together, at least give us an idea. I mean, if you want to share that, we can share it. It'd be draft, of course. But we'd be willing to do that if that, in fact, comes to fruition. So secondly, of course, we're meeting with departments regarding their budgets, CIPs, and going through what town manager's recommendation is going to be versus the department requests. You'll see later on in tonight's, the CIP came in close to a lot more, millions of dollars more than what we think is going to be palatable, but that's now will be turned over tonight to the council for your discussion and your direction. So heavily working on those 2 items. That's taken up a lot of time. We've been doing RFPs for the Gilly Hill School roof, code violation and roof replacement. And then we're opening the bids tomorrow for the trash proposals for say pickup. So that's at 10 o'clock. We have a meeting, a phone teleconference meeting with the regular auditors and the town attorney on moving forward, trying to get that audit started back up again so we can get that finalized. So that's at 10 as well. Then Jan, I don't want to steal your thunder. We've been meeting with my staff and myself on the website.
Right.
So I'll wait for you added it to the agenda
Sure.
prior to me doing
That's
this. And then, of course, we're working with the new revenue collector and getting her squared away. And we've brought in some assistance from the town of Columbia, Gay, that's been helping us when we were short and going through. And that's been working out very well. So I thank the town administrator of Columbia for sharing his staff with us. And really appreciate that and Gay's expertise. So that's serving us well.
Sure.
And then, of course, we had that big snowstorm. I'll have a revised budget. We're going to be over budget, so we'll be keeping you and Board of Finance in detail. I think I instructed Lori to put a soft freeze on at least Public Works for right now, on any other projects coming up in the spring until we see where we close out the winter on. So, but we'll give you a detailed item. There's 3 items in there, which is winter materials, overtime, and then meal allowances. So the caveat of this winter is most of the storms are either weekend or holidays. So they've been expensive. And then there's some salt pricing that's an issue because there's a shortage. And then, of course, as soon as down south had an issue, all the salt went that way because they can get more money down there.
Right.
So we're dealing with a
Yeah.
shortage. So
Yeah.
that's some of the things we're dealing with. And we sent out the vacancies as Keith had stated to the town boards and commissions, and we also updated the website as well.
And you sent those to the town committee chairs,
Yes,
right? Thank you.
yes. Did I miss anything? And that's, like I said, it's budget. So that's what we're working on. If anybody has any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
I have one question, one point. With respect to the audit, is that for 24 or 25?
Both,
For both?
but we're trying to get the 24 one finished first.
Right.
So that's what we would have that conversation with our auditors. They want to hear from the town attorney,
Okay.
get some information.
And would you say that 24 is pretty much closest to completion?
Hopefully in March. We're trying to shoot for March.
Okay. Good news.
Yeah.
And then,
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
You weren't done. No, you weren't done.
are you still talking about audit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if that's okay. Yeah. And then 2025, you're thinking more towards late summer, early fall to have that one done. Is that
Yeah, we're
right?
hoping to get back on track where it's due at the end of December. So
Okay.
hopefully that'll come in.
Okay, good. Great. Thank you.
I'm going to try.
Yeah. And my second part is a comment on DPW and their just extraordinary efforts. While we were all home, comfortable and warm, and watching Netflix and eating
Yeah.
junk food, they were out there hours. That storm was brutal.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
brutal.
And I just want to extend my great appreciation to the staff. They really did a hell of a job.
I'll
So
let 'em know.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Tremendous job.
Great
Really.
job.
They were out there all the time. I saw them. They did a great job.
Especially when you think about
Mm.
it's the first significant snowstorm I think we've had
Yeah.
in a really long time. And so to have to get back into gear and remember, like, this is how we work a snowstorm
Yeah.
kind of thing. Job well done.
For sure.
No, thank you. I'll make sure they know
Thanks to them.
the sentiments of the board.
Any other questions for Andy? All right. Thank you, Andy. That brings us to old business. Item 8A is ARPA update, and I don't believe we have anything here. We're just perfect. All right, we'll move on. Item 8B, DPW committee update. Keith's the only one here that I see, so I don't know if there's anything that we need to update at this point, or if we want to wait for the larger presentation that comes at our second meeting.
They did. Right. Normally, I wouldn't have anything for the first meeting of the month because they meet the third Monday. But they did have a special meeting this past week where they discussed specifically some communication items and basically kind of wanted to know what questions to put forward to the town attorney as far as like what we could or could not pursue in communications, because some of the guidance that we had previously received was, I mean, I guess at the time we thought it was clear, but now here we are a couple months later, and each one of us has a different idea of what was said. So it was just trying to get back on the same page. Like I said, it was a special meeting, so that's all they talked about. Their main business meeting is going to be upcoming next week, so I'll have more information, and they will be presenting
They present.
at our next meeting.
Okay. All right, great. And if anyone has any questions pertaining to the special meeting, if we can move on. Okay. Item 8C. So I have just a quick update on this front. I'm excited to share with all of you, and I know you will be too, but Keith and I will have the first 42 pages of the personnel policies ready for the three of you to read in advance of our next February meeting. Keith and I think it's better to kind of segment it a little bit because it's a lot to digest. So the first 42 pages will be sent to the three of you in advance of the next February meeting. We'll get that piece done, and then we'll have the second half ready for the first regular meeting in March, and hopefully get this project completed. So it is coming on the way. So you will be
Thank you,
ready
guys.
for it.
Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Appreciate
Yep.
your work.
So it's coming. It's coming. It'll be on the next agenda as an action item.
And we'll be sending out copies of that before the meeting,
Yes.
because there's a couple of comments that I've made. A lot of the stuff is just grammatical, cleaning up duplication, making things, a little bit more presentable and easy to follow. But there are a couple of things in there where I think, board members will need to think about how they want to react to different
Mm-hmm.
suggestions.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that gets out to you well in advance of next meeting,
Oh, yeah.
so you can consider those Post-it notes we put on there.
I may even try to send it out tomorrow evening, so you'll have a couple of weekends to really
Great.
sit down with it. So
Thank you.
it's on its way. I promise. I know it's a little delayed, but it's coming. That brings us to item 8D, homestead exemption. Again, this is being pushed off until the fall. Item 8E, the town center project, America 250 update. I see Donna's online, but I also see there's, is there, would they like to provide an update, or are we good to skip this
I
week?
think we asterisked it, but you can ask them.
Hi, Madam Chair. This is Holly Habik. I would like, thank you so much. I apologize. I did not get to Dory in time to have the asterisk removed from the backside of that statement. So thank you for the time. I just first would like to tell everybody thank you very much for all of those that attended the 250 kickoff on Saturday. I was not present, but I heard it was loads of fun. And that a number of you guys all participated. So thank you very much for making that effort and reading the proclamation and everything. The other thing that I just really quickly wanted to touch base on was that within your packet, the state of Connecticut has graciously provided some updates that they're doing on their level with celebrating the 250. And I just wanted to let the council as well as the Hebron residents know that the town center project is on top of all of these things. We obviously already have our proclamation all set, but that we are, in addition to our programming, planning on participating with a number of their programming. They're offering a 250th White Oak initiative that we'd love to see happen, as well as a nationwide bell ringing. And they're going to have an America's Potluck, which I think sounds like so much fun that we could all participate in on July 5th. So anyhow, I just quickly wanted to tell the council and the town of Hebron that we're moving along, things are happening, and pay attention.
Great. Thank you, Holly. Thank you so much. Any questions from the council?
I just have a statement. I just want to shout out Holly and the board members of the America 250 committee. Extraordinary work. Great start. I love the reappearance of the powdered whey. Can you tell the audience when the next committee hearing or meeting is, so people, if they want to attend and maybe think about how they want to help out?
Oh, Claudia, thank you very much. Absolutely. So our next meeting will be held at 8 a.m. in that very room you guys are in right now on February 14th. I know it's Valentine's Day, but 8 a.m. I think everybody gets a pass at 8 a.m.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Holly.
Holly. Much appreciated. Alrighty, that brings us to item 8F, approve load SIP application for transportation improvements. I see Matt Bordeaux, our planners here, and since your usual seat is taken, you're welcome to take Brian's seat because he is not here. So come on up. And then Sean, if you could read the resolution for discussion purposes, that would be great.
Yes, sure. Be it resolved that the Hebron Town Council authorize the town manager to apply for and execute contracts related to the 2026 LOTCIP program to complete the sidewalk gaps on Main Street.
Take it away.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Matt Bordeaux, Hebron's town planner. The last meeting, the council asked me to inquire with the LOTCIP program manager at CROG whether or not there was the possibility of adding another location that requires some improvements to the project application or program application. The program manager there at CROG confirmed that we could add it about 1.5 miles away. So what we're talking about is improvements on Main Street, closing 2 gaps that exist on the south side of Main Street, and then potentially adding the improvement of a mid-block crossing and some ancillary, safety needs on either side of the road down on Church Street, where the miniature golf course is being installed, and would be essentially opposite George's Pizza, just about there. Definitively where on that stretch, that's that little node of activity is we call it the neighborhood convenience zoning district. And so what we know about that stretch there is, we do have a tendency to get some high speeds, vehicular speeds. We also have a incline in the northbound lane that comes around the corner. So sight distances are going to be the critical factor there to safely cross people. What we would propose to install in that location would be what are called rectangular rapid flashing beacons, RRFBs. We see those used or employed in mid-block crossings elsewhere in town on Route 85, south end of Route 85. Tonight, I proposed making an application to the LOTCIP program for the closure of the 2 gaps on Main Street. The reason I did not initially include the addition of the improvements on Church Street is because I was hoping that it would be possible to squeeze that project into our local capital improvement plan. Because of my concern over the timeline that I anticipate it's going to take for, in the event we're awarded the LOTCIP grant, how long it takes to work through that process with CROG and with DOT in order to get those improvements installed on Church Street, which in my opinion are a little bit more of a kind of immediate safety need. I can make the application and I can add it. So just for your understanding, CROG provides guidance in how cost estimates are supposed to be prepared. And they take all their cues from DOT's estimating standards. The 2 gaps on Main Street, using CROG's guidelines for cost estimating, are predicted to be about $575,000. We're talking about 2 stretches of sidewalk. But because of the potential for, utility impacts, permitting, work in the state right of way, I guess these costs escalate. They do require, per the LOTCIP program, a 25% contingency, which is higher than we typically reserve. We usually go 10 to 15. I do have a proposal cost estimate both for design services as well as the construction for the work down on Church Street. And this came from Josh Iannotti. He's our town engineer. So design services for that work would be, I have the wrong email up, would be about 42,900, and construction costs would be about 92,400.
Hmm.
So that would be, again, like I said, you would have the rapid flashing beacons on either side, which need to be visible in either direction. So you have electrical connections to those. You have your work in the right of way. There's going to be, at a minimum, some sidewalk improvements that are going to be necessary on the west side of the road because there's nothing there now. And depending on where it ultimately is located, there could be a need for a little bit additional sidewalk on the east side of the road. Of course, there's going to be our ADA detection pads on the other end. There's going to be appropriately designed ramp. But that's where you can see the costs start to escalate. You would think, everything's expensive now. It doesn't surprise me at all. But you kind of like scratch your head, like, how did we get here? But that's the nature of the game these days. So, I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to kind of talk it through. What's an appropriate approach? Just for some additional context, I was doing a little bit of research in how we have historically used the LOTSIP program. So we had 2 projects, to my knowledge, both of which before my time, but the extension of sidewalks all the way down Church Street was actually a LOTSIP program project. We were awarded or informed of a commitment to fund that project in 2016. We didn't even execute a contract with a contractor to have them installed until 2019, and then however much longer it takes to get there. So just so you understand what could potentially be. Now that, again, that's a different scale. We would love to believe that, we can get these done quicker. That would be the goal. But just so you understand, working through that program, it takes time. And so that's where my alarms are raised a little bit in terms of safety needs for that mini golf situation. And, I'll continue to look for other opportunities. Unfortunately, I don't know a timeline on the other program, which has usually been served the community well, which is the STEEP program, Small Town Economic Assistance Program, operated through DECD. My experience has been a much quicker and more flexible program, but we don't have a timeline on that.
We don't know when they're accepting new grants, that is.
We don't, right. And, again, grant applications, particularly with STEEP, are ultra competitive.
Gotcha.
Lots of, you get a good sense from CROG whether or not your program or your project is going to fit the bill. And I think I'm pretty confident that this will be well received, the sidewalk improvement.
Okay.
So, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council?
I just have some feedback. I just want to appreciate you heard what we had to say at the other meeting. Appreciate your ability to pivot and really just fill in a really important safety gap with respect to the mini golf course. And the ideas that there are terrific. So thank you for that. Appreciate that very much.
I'm excited about both these. These are big boxes to check.
Yeah, really are.
To get done. So really, it's nice to be able to kind of get something done like this and move forward.
And then question on CROG. So if they're like, for example, if this goes through and they are aware that there's a business that's about to open up, does that play any part in?
It could. I mean, our relationship with CROG is great. The program manager, Satoria, we have a good working relationship with her. I can make that. I can express that. I don't know if it'll move the needle or not.
It's always worth a shot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tell her it's for the kids.
Right.
Thank you, Matt.
Any other questions, concerns from the council?
I got one just for clarification. So because we got some moving parts with both CIP and then the funding, the town would have to make a commitment for also the sidewalk. Would you need that money in this year's CIP, knowing the time frame of that, or could that be, as long as we got a commitment from the council, could we try to fund that instead of just having that money sit there for that time period and not be used? Can we fund that in the following year? Would that be appropriate or no?
I'm trying to make sure I follow. So Are you talking about to fund the design services associated with the lot zip work?
Yeah.
Um,
The other one you want funded out of the CIP account, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, we don't have I don't think there's a plan for funding the design services. I think that's a request, but I don't think we don't know that we're going to get the grant. So we don't make a commitment yet to the design services. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm trying to do is if you have to have a commitment from the town for the match,
Yeah.
we would put that in CIP. But you're saying you want to do the other one with a steep grant and possibly fund that through a CIP request now. I'm trying to stagger the 2 years.
Yeah.
That's
So if you're so design services, if we were to separate the two, Main Street improvements, the design services associated with those, yeah, I think we could probably waive, unless there's another option.
I just wanted the council to weigh that because we got some moving parts and some reductions you'll see tonight, even with one of the things I was suggesting in CIP for the school alarm system came in a lot cheaper.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I don't have a proposal right now for how to fund the design services.
When will you be notified if we're awarded the lot zip?
I don't have that timeline yet. I could ask.
Well, because I think Andy's point's well taken. I mean, do we have to put it into this year's CIP right now, or does it go into next year? I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we're going to have that money set aside.
Right,
We've got to meet our obligation.
I believe our CIP discussion is preliminary this meeting and finalized next meeting.
Right, but your application deadline's coming up.
Yeah. Well, so we would have to have that answer certainly within the next 2 weeks.
No, but his application, I think, even comes up before our next meeting, correct?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, but we don't have to have an official motion awarding design services before you apply.
Right.
It's just
Just
Right.
before it goes,
Just
before it
before
goes
it
to
goes, yeah,
contract.
right.
if it, I suppose we couldn't figure it out, we could decline.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
First.
Yeah, I'm just.
I mean, I'd hate to do that, but I hear you.
Accept everything here.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
Figure it out.
We'll try to get that other one.
It's too much money. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I know. It's a good program. Yeah, it's a good program. All right.
But then I guess before you move forward the motion, the question is, do I prepare at least the application to include Church Street? And then maybe we pivot if we find that it'll fit with CIP and it is a priority of the I'm sure there's more you need to digest in terms of local CIP. But do I make the application? Do I prepare it that way to include Church Street? Or just stick with the two mains and hope that the board and the community supports the CIP request for the Church Street improvements? I know it's a tough one to put you on the spot with.
Yeah, but I thought your recommendation wasn't, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth by any means, that you want this one to move faster down there by the golf course.
That's my recommendation.
So I would suggest we put that in the CIP to fund that for this year if the council approves that. And then the other one, we would just have to make a commitment at some time to fund it out. That's up to what the council wants to do, but I sounded to me like you want them separate.
Yeah, again, it's just a recommendation.
Because we move faster than the state, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think, but also it's, I mean, this is a unique situation though. If it was a sidewalk on Wall Street, well, not even on Wall Street, because that's kind of the same thing. But if this was a sidewalk on a side street, then yes, we move faster than the state. But even us putting it in CIP, we're still going to have to go through a ton of state permitting because it's on a state road.
Yep.
Like, yes, we will gain probably a year in the grant application and contracting and all the red tape that goes with that. But we're still, whether we funded it ourselves or whether we funded it through this, as soon as it gets the contract, it's going to hit, a quagmire of state involvement because of being on 85.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you're thinking about this, I would only think about a 12-month delay, because I think that between the two, funding it ourselves would really only give us a 12-month advantage.
Mhm. I would agree with that.
So what's the difference then in our cost that we bear between the two programs? Is there any
Well, it's
difference?
the 92, it's the 92.4. So if it was funded through the LOTSIP grant, the 92.4 estimate of construction would be part of the grant. We would still be on the hook for the design.
Okay,
So it's about 100 grand.
100 grand, yeah.
I mean, my thought is that being the case, if the sidewalk's not gonna be there the day kids are running across the street for pizza, might as well get the delay and get the money. I'd say put it to the grant. Like if the kids can't use that crosswalk this spring, and we all, I think we can agree they can't, it will not be built.
No,
it won't.
so
No.
even if
No.
we had the money tonight, it would
Right.
Right. So that being
No.
said, let's save the taxpayers some money. Might as well add it. Makes it a more attractive grant anyway, right? Maybe. Can't hurt.
I think it's strong either way.
Yeah, I think it's strong either way.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that 100 grand would tilt the needle for them.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning heavily to Sean's side of saving 100 grand. I mean, am I happy that it's probably going to be an extra 12 months going through the grant process rather than funding it ourselves? I mean, I'm not super happy, but I agree. It's not going to be done on day one. You know, it's going to be a little bit of a time period before it happens, and people will just have to, drive back and forth and navigate that how they can or whatever, or, be very careful about traffic.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I am kind of leaning Sean's way.
I think too, what I'm thinking about is just how high, when we get there to new business, and if people have seen the printed agenda, CIP is already coming in pretty high. And we really have to think about that, because this is going to be probably one of the most challenging budget years I think I've been a part of. And I think we do have a serious responsibility to create a fair budget that is fair to as many people as we can make it possible. And so I'm acutely aware of the fact that any opportunity we have to take something out of CIP that we may not be paying for ourselves and trying to get it pushed through a program that's a 92.4. I don't know. I would kind of lean more toward Keith and Sean's way as well, that we throw it in there for consideration and just see what they say.
Yeah, I would add to that, I don't know when you get in a queue for lots of grants, like if based on the town's need, like this is kind of a safety issue, like whether that raises like our spot in the line to get this approved. I don't know if there's any consideration there or not. I don't know if that's something you could ask too.
I think we just have to go to CROG meetings and be annoying.
Okay, we could do that too. I'm good at that. I can be annoying when I want to be. All right.
To the extent we can, we'll do what we can. to
Right.
expedite
Right.
the project.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another project. Let's gotta keep that in mind as well.
I know.
The list is long.
We got a couple.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, do the best we can, like we usually do.
I think the theme is this year is to try to save taxpayer money every which way we can. And I think this is one of those things.
Yep.
So I'm with you guys on it too. And leave that to you. You concur. Okay.
Like I said, I don't know. You just gotta.
I think that was a resolution, not a motion, so.
Yeah, I think it was
Sounds
just
like
to apply for an executive. So we can, I don't think we need to amend the resolution. I just think.
Yeah,
we
there
need to-
wasn't, I don't think the resolution was specific enough to,
No. To amend. Yeah.
to have to make any changes to it.
I think we can just vote on it and move on. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye, opposed nay, or if you wish to abstain. Jim Lawrence.
Jim Lawrence,
As a point of order, do we even need to vote on that resolution?
Yes, because we're authorizing the town manager to apply for something. Yeah,
Thank you.
but good question. Thank you, Sean.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry. I am going to make an amendment.
Okay,
I'll make an amendment just to add on at the very end,
sure.
the end of Church Street.
Sean, do you accept the friendly amendment?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we'll move to a vote on the resolution with the friendly amendment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain. Jan Lawrence.
Jan Lawrence, aye.
Claudia Riley.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Keith Pettit.
Keith Pettit, aye.
Sean Fitzgerald.
Sean Fitzgerald, aye.
And myself, Tiffany Teely, aye. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Matt.
Thank you.
All right, brings us to item 8G, approve revised budget review schedule. So the chair of the Board of Finance, Brian, he couldn't be with us tonight. He had requested some changes to the budget meeting calendar. And so now we're going to just vote to accept those changes. I understand this is procedural in nature. Claudia, would you mind reading that proposed motion
Sure.
if you have it?
Here it is. Move that the Hebron Town Council approve the FY 2026-2027 budget review schedule as amended.
And so it looks like the two dates that changed was the Board of Finance budget workshop on April 7th. That will now be Thursday, April 2nd. And then it looks like their public hearing on the budget, wait a second, is now going to be on April 7th instead of April 9th. So those are the two changes. Is there any further discussion on that?
I just like to make you aware of something that that only gives us like a day after that last meeting for the public presentation. So we're off on Good Friday, and that's the Monday after Easter. And I just hope it doesn't snow. It gives us like one day to get that ready. I'm just pointing that out. It's not looking to create weight. I just want to make sure that that could be a tight turnaround.
What's the date of Good Friday?
The third.
April 3rd. Okay. Oh, I see it here.
So we lost a few days to get prepared for to finalize that. Just bring it up with everybody's attention.
There better not be snow.
Not in April.
It has happened.
It has happened. Okay. Thank you for that. Any discussion? Right. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay, or if you wish to abstain. Jan Lawrence.
Jan Lawrence, aye.
Claudia Riley.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Keith Pettit.
Keith Pettit, aye.
Sean Fitzgerald.
Sean Fitzgerald, aye.
And Tiffany Teely, aye. Thank you. That brings us to item 8H, an update on the cell tower committee. And Andy will provide this update. Andy.
I got a memo from Craig. Craig is the Craig Bryant, the Parks and Rec director. So Craig says, good afternoon. As of today, we have 3 members confirmed for the cell tower subcommittee as listed below. I've reached out to other interested volunteers, to the Parks and Rec Commission, the Board of Finance, and the Town Council. I've reached out to a few community members with little response. If you have any suggestions on other boards to invite or would like for me to reach out with a wider base of the community members, please let me know. So 3 members is probably clearly not enough. I wouldn't suggest that. So we have to try to get the word out that we're looking for some more people to sit on that.
So I spoke to the Board of Finance chairman, and he has somebody from his board that.
That's
Oh, that's one of the
Yeah.
I
3.
should have read it. I should have read it.
Oh, he is one of the 3. Okay.
So it's Craig Bryant.
Yep.
Peter Starkle, the fire chief.
Yep.
And then Ryan Herrick.
Oh, okay,
Right.
great.
Okay.
And I.
What do you know about?
Yeah, there was another firefighter who showed interest.
The older gentleman that said he worked
Yeah, I
for,
missed his name.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Was it David? I would have to go back in the minutes.
I know who he is. Did he express interest in being on it?
He
Yeah,
did.
Okay.
He did. And then I had also suggested if there's anyone on the town council that wants to sit on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can think about it, but this would be your opportunity to kind of say if that's not something else that you would like to sit on, because bigger.
Yeah, this is advisory to you guys to approve. So whoever you want to put on there.
I will throw myself under the bus. Under cell tower.
We're all looking at each other. Volunteer.
yeah. Jan's like, I'm already on WPCA, and I'm like, I'm
That's
already on
okay.
DPW.
I know. In open space, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would get us to, if the other 5, that would get us to 5. Okay. If we couldn't confirm the other firefighter, then I think, we could reach out to maybe the building committee. We could reach out to, have we reached out to the building committee or the DPW? I mean,
Yeah, and I definitely think, I mean, I don't know about your town committee, but I will make sure that
Yeah.
town committee.
Could ask the committee chairs
talks
again.
about that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
I think that'd be a good place to
Yeah,
start too.
for sure.
I mean, if we get those 5, I mean, that's, if 2 people don't show up, 3 is a quorum. So that's a good start.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
I just have one kind of comment addendum. Because currently, based on that communication, the belief is for it to be for the Vets Park cell tower only. I would certainly like to expand that. I don't want this to be the Vets Park cell tower committee. Cell towers for the town would be my goal. Because one cell tower we know is not enough. It could be half a mile tall. We have so many dips, valleys in this town. Like, I'd like to look at other sites so we can.
As part of the RFP.
Right, because we know that one tower is profitable.
Really
We
good
have
idea.
room for multiple towers.
I mean, the RFP is going to be up to the committee, but I think what he's talking about is the committee charge.
Yeah.
So the committee charge will be just to appoint them as investigating, future cell tower construction in town,
Mm-hmm.
rather than saying, you're just Vets Park.
Right.
Right.
That's a good
Right, I
point.
agree.
I
Maximize
agree.
the town's dollar.
Yeah.
If a
Yeah.
tower is needed, in the south end of town, I'd like that to come
I
into
think it is.
town. But like
When I-
that money should be for the
I don't
town's
know.
use
Yep.
as opposed to,
I think that's a good point.
a private citizen who will still pay taxes on it, but not to the level we receive. And we're managing that ourselves.
Right.
That's all.
No, that's a good point. I think when we think about the charge, we need to.
That's perfect.
Yep, absolutely. Great. Good call. All right. Awesome. Anything else on the cell tower committee? Anything from you?
That was it. Pretty brief.
That brings us to item 8I. Any other old business? Any other old business from the town manager? Any other old business from the council?
Not sure.
That brings us to new business. Item 9A, fiscal year 26-27 CIP budget review. We have the CIP attached here. We review this by February 15th and we finalize it by March 1st for inclusion in the upcoming fiscal year budget. Attached is the recommended CIP budget. Right now, it totals 1.677 million, along with recommendations for funding sources. Looks like a total of 5.1 million approximately in department requests were received for this fiscal year. So this is the initial start of the conversation so the public understands, because this will be continued at our next meeting in February, on February 19th, because that's when we'll finalize it. So I'll stop there. And Andy, the floor is yours to kind of present the CIP process, what you came up with, and then we can start our conversation.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So every year, this is in the chart and it lays out the timeline when this had to be brought to the town council and how it's approved. So we did that. We have all the department heads submit their requests for the amount allotted that, fits the CIP criteria. We close to $8 million worth of requests. And we've historically not really funded more than $1.2 million, $1.3 million. Last year was really a lot lower because we were hoping at some point to possibly go out for some bonding and then add a couple items to that, which didn't happen because our audit wasn't finished. So we did under my goals have a rolling stock 25-year chart of all vehicles updated. So that's why you'll see a lot of vehicles in there for the fire department and the public works. They were just trying to comply with, once you do that matrix, it shows that this truck should be available after 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. And then what we do is we evaluate them to see if you can make it a couple more years, which one's the worst one. So you'll see, at least underneath the public works, you'll see a couple of trucks that are in need, but he was requesting more due to the rolling stock inventory and the time replacement. Same thing with the fire truck. We were hoping to actually bond that rest of that money out. We got a grant for $500,000. So the remaining amount of that money is $700,000. You'll see that in there. And then, of course, every year, even though it's listed under public works, it's the town's largest fixed asset is its roadways. So we have to try to keep up with that. And so that money's been in there historically. As I stated earlier, I don't know if you remember, I'll restate it, that the fire panel came in a lot less than 150. What do we had, 95,000?
It was 95,520.
And that's a solid, firm quote from the schools business agent to us. So, that's good news. Like I said, this is a fluid document. There's going to be numbers moving. And then that's a placeholder, but we feel we need to put some money for the WPCA because we're liable for joint facilities, portion of that Middletown Avenue pump station and the maps. We've got to get some of that stuff done. And I know Jan's now a member of the WPCA.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of work on that. I didn't bring that up under my report, but there's some budgetary stuff coming up with that too as well.
That's right. Yeah. The
So-
meeting next week. Yeah.
Just that list alone prior to the reduction in the fire panel was, as chairman announced, 1,677,689. So that was, we cut it off there and brought it to the council for your review. And now it's up to you guys to be creative.
Take us through the CIP budget revenue so the public understands exactly
You got that?
how CIP funding works and for newcomers so they understand.
So every year there's some revenues that offset. It's not just a contribution from the taxpayers. So the balance, there's a balance that's from previous appropriations. This year we don't have anything. Last year we had $184,169. We received LOSUP funding from the state. This year it's down just a little bit from last year at $101,524. And then we have fundings from other sources, which is a public safety fund. That's $11,400. What that is amortization for our contract with RAM with the SRO to replace equipment vehicles. It's a percentage each year of that contract. So that's what that money is. For this year, we didn't receive any interest. I'm not sure why, but last year we had $30,000. And then that'll give you a total revenue of $1,564,765. So that completed project balance. Is this a new number with the
So-
fire panel?
With the fire panel out, I reran the number, and that's what the general fund contribution was.
So the general fund contribution less the original amount of the fire panel is $1,510,285. Thank you.
So I guess one initial question, and it's really more of a comment than anything else. You sent around a facilities study, and CIP is also to address facilities improvements. And we have the facilities study that Mallory had sent to all of us. I think first and foremost, we need to have the facility study presented to the public at either one of our meetings as an agenda item, because there's a lot of valuable information there. And I think people need to understand the state of our facilities, what we're facing, et cetera. But I guess, one thing that I noticed when just doing a comparison today after work, there were things in the facilities study that I wasn't seeing reflected in the 5-year CIP plan.
Right.
And we can't bond everything.
Yep.
So I think the largest concern I have with, we have one document over here and we have one document over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to figure out a way to create greater synergy there. Especially when I look at the Douglas Library, like right now, I'm not seeing anything in the 5-year plan, but there were items in the facilities study that could be brought into CIP that I saw that could be considered as part of that. So I think that's just, I don't know that that's something that we can and should tackle this budget year, or we can if the council wants to. But I think the first course of action is we do need to talk publicly and share the facility study with the public as an action agenda item on this agenda and have somebody present on it. But I also think that our documents need to speak to each other. You
Sure.
can't have one document over here and one document over here, and they're not communicating with each other.
Unfortunately, that's a great statement. I agree with everything. So the CIP has a threshold. What we did for the facility study, and it gave some of the immediate needs that need to be done, right away. And we got that in the capital in the regular budget. We got $500,000 worth of projects. So that's why you don't see it in the CIP with the 75,000 over threshold. But yeah, absolutely.
There were projects in the facility study though that were 75,000 over when I looked at it.
For this upcoming year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I saw the 3-year and out, I mean, I'm just confused, and maybe it's a conversation we can have when we talk about the larger facilities study. But what I'm saying is I saw things in the facilities study that were 75,000 and over that I don't see reflected in their 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there are things that the Douglas Library is going to need structurally that should be reflected in the 5-year plan. And that's not here or there, maybe for this year. But what I'm concerned with is the lack of synergy. So that's just something that I noticed that I want to bring to your attention.
Absolutely.
And that I do think, and if this council agrees, I think we would all benefit from a very public discussion of the facility study as was completed so that everybody in town can be on the same page.
Yeah, that's
It's-
fine.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't, we haven't finalized the 5-year plan yet, even though we presented this. It's the projects in the column to be
Okay.
for this year's funding.
Yep.
And then we'll add that. That's not even an
Okay.
issue.
All right. So we'll bring it back to this year, but we will.
You're gonna bring it back for the next meeting.
Yeah, and we'll put the facilities study on probably under new business at an upcoming meeting so that everybody can hear it and see it, and it's for the public. But I'll bring it back to this year and open it up to the council for any questions or comments, opening up this year's CIP.
We're definitely gonna need road resurfacing after this winter.
That's true.
I think that's gonna be needed.
Well, compared to previous years, we're pretty much there. The only major difference being aging fire equipment, the fire truck. Is somewhat predicted, but also unexpected cost that was offset by the grant we applied for and I believe are receiving. If I haven't done.
Yes.
Otherwise, I mean, we're pretty much, certainly well within inflation of last year. And last year actually had even some significant help. Really balanced.
It's high.
It is. Well,
It's higher than the previous past couple of years. I'll say that. I think as we consider it, we have to consider how it'll look on a referendum ballot. I mean, needs are important, but I think, we always have to think about that.
You have 2 fire trucks that need replacement. I mean, could we spread those in one a year or something?
No, that's one.
That is one replace
one
rescue
replacing
110
two.
and
No, it's one replacing 2.
so the 5-year
I got
plan,
it.
Fire trucks ain't that cheap.
I did ask.
Really?
Yeah.
I did ask because there are
So
2
expensive.
in this 5-year plan. If you'll see the fire panel HES and then police rescue 110 with the rescue pumper, those are provided by that department of which year you want that on, because you'll see HES says 150, 150, 150. It's giving us the choice of which of that year. So it's not a $450,000 project. Same with the 700 in that, because it's good with the one truck. It's kind of it's saying, hey, you could be in this year or it could be in that year.
Mhm.
So you have an idea of the numbers.
Right.
What they did with the fire truck, you're right, I'm not disputing what you said, is if you remember, we were lucky enough to get the Lions Club to purchase that truck, which we did receive. Wrote a check strictly to Columbia.
Okay.
So that truck will be going in service. They're working on getting that done now. And that'll push a second truck out even further. But when we get this new fire truck, we have a truck that has value in it. It's that rescue truck that we don't have enough volunteers to take both at certain times of the day. So that truck is still worth quite a bit of money. So that'll offset the cost of a new truck as well, probably to the tune of $100,000, if not more.
Okay.
But it's hard to know that not having the numbers.
Right. But a significant sum.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of buyback from dropping down to one truck.
Yeah. So we got the 500,000, which was a blessing. And then, Kathy Ostin was lucky enough to get that for us. And so we're trying to get the rest to get that truck ordered. It's going to take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to have that built and get it here. So we got that other truck, which is in very good shape. That'll buy us some time with the second truck that's in the 5-year plan. So the chief thought this was his number one priority to try to get this first truck in here.
So Andy, just so the public knows the extent of why the vehicle costs $700,000, like what are the features of a vehicle like that and how would it help community?
I'm not sure you want my opinion on it, but the problem is it's like sole sourcing. That there's only like 3 companies now that build these trucks, and there's people going to Washington to dispute this. That it's because of that. It's like a conglomerate.
It's a monopoly. Yeah.
There's a
That's
monopoly.
why
They're buying all these.
I couldn't believe that was for
They're
one
buying them all up.
Yeah.
You got Spartan and you got Pierce.
Truck in Europe
Yeah.
where they just, you buy a
It's
truck and
just-
then you slap the stuff on it.
Right.
Like it's built. from
It's not just us. There's a lot of towns that are struggling with the amount of money you have to pay for this type of apparatus. And then we're an OSHA state, so we follow the OSHA guidelines. But then there's NFPA, other that are more strict. You have to put new tires on every 10 years, whether they're good or not. You have to replace an ambulance every 10 years, whether they're in good shape or not. I mean, it's stuff that we're faced with because of the industry. So it's a good question. It's just kind of sole sourcing.
Any other questions and comments?
Unfortunately, the fire truck's really the only large
Yeah.
non-fixed cost. Everything else is
Yeah, everything else that you're right. Everything else is pretty
replacing a
reasonable.
25-year-old
Right.
deck truck.
Yeah.
With, right after,
Right.
have to say no to after 1.5 feet of snow over a weekend.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Because it's not it's not Main Street, it's not West Road, it's not Route 66 that suffers from lack of, it's the tertiary. So it's still,
Mm-hmm.
that truck is wildly expensive, but it's still preventing 2 snow days a year. Because if we can't plow tertiary roads, we can't have school.
Right.
So unfortunately, we're seeing 6-figure trucks and everything, but you need them.
Mm-hmm.
And we already bid on the state pricing, so we're already getting.
And I mean, it does come with the added benefit of, the first few years you have a truck, you don't have as high maintenance costs because when those things start getting 20 years old, every year you're just welding steel on to keep the rust from completely disintegrating.
Right.
That's just part of the thing with those trucks.
Yeah.
You give the fire panel a couple of false positives.
Yeah.
And you start worrying about false negatives.
Yeah.
I deal with, in my industry, we deal with smoke heads, and I've seen them fail. Then when you do not want, that's the one that's life safety. You can't have a smoke head fail.
Yeah. And the school did ask us to move that up to this year. I know they gave us option. I appreciate that, but if you're talking about kids in a fire panel,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, it's nice to have the fire panels because the Gilead Hill one got replaced 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So having 2 different buildings on 2 different systems,
Yep.
it just makes the fire department's job harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I would say you trimmed. Look at the numbers. You trimmed a lot of fat, like important fat that we will eventually need, but you trimmed.
well, I want to stress again, by updating that rolling stock, that put a lot more of these trucks in the queue for the same year. That's when we have a qualified mechanic to go out and take a look at the truck and say, because of the numbers for fire trucks and now 6-wheel plow trucks, do we really need to replace this, or can we? How much money are we spending on, as Keith just stated, he's 100% correct. How much money are we spending on this to keep it on a first responder route? We have 10 routes with the big trucks, and then we have the small trucks for the parking lots. But that goes out every storm, that truck, and it's 25 years old, and we're going to have to put some money into it. So
Right.
you know how that cross goes. You're starting to spend good money after bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Question on the revenue side of the budget. You stated that we would not be receiving or not seeing the interest that we had the previous year.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't get interest.
Why?
I think that just has to do with the audit. I mean, we're getting interest, as long as the money is in the account. But I think probably Lori doesn't have a firm number of what the interest is until she does the audit. But I think once we get caught up on that and she has the numbers, you'll see that the interest, because we have that chunk of money in there from previous projects, it's going to be in the ballpark, probably somewhere in the 20,000 range.
Okay.
But again, that depends on how quickly we're getting these projects done and how long the money is sitting up there.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, I suppose we could just like take the numbers, ruminate on it. We don't have to decide until the next meeting. This is just kind of a start. So,
Mhm.
I don't think anybody argues that these aren't needs. I just think,
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, we can get creative with ideas like, floating something like the state doesn't have enough trucks to do the entire state. They contract out 10 to 15% of their routes.
Mhm.
Could we contract out a route and put off a truck purchase for a year or limp a truck through another year? Of course we could, but then everything else is stacking up. So like at some point it all catches up with you.
Yeah.
You can only kick the can down the road so many times. If we take one of those public works trucks off of there and push it to next year, it's just going to be on the list with all the other public works trucks from that year. So, I think it needs to just be mulled over and look at those future years to see if we see a dip anywhere that
Right.
maybe we
That's a good
can kind of finagle things around. But, hey, this is what makes this job fun.
yes, it does.
Team effort.
It is a team effort. All right. Anything else you want to add at this point, Andy, or we'll look to make a decision next meeting? All right. Anything further on CIP before we move on? All righty. That brings us to item 9B, the draft agenda for the February 19th regular meeting. As always, if you have agenda items, you can get them to the town manager's office or myself, and we'll get them added. And that will actually bring us to the new 9C, which is the new town website update by Jim.
All right, yeah. So hang in with me because there's a number of things that have transpired over the last few weeks. So I just want to thank Andy and Dory and Mallory for participating in a lot of this interaction specifically with a company that we're talking with, Civic Plus. Also, Craig and Erica from Parks and Rec also did demo. I'll get to that as well. So initially we did some research on our own just about, what different management platforms are out there, content management platforms are out there to design municipal websites. And so we found that Civic Plus, Above and Beyond, was the most common platform used by towns of various sizes, our size, Columbia. We found, Bolton, a number of other towns up to Rocky Hill, Weathersfield. Some of these bigger towns are using them as well. And they were very intuitive websites. They really, I found that it was just a couple of mouse clicks to get wherever you wanted to get to. Dory reached out to Civic Plus. We've had a number of meetings with them. A number of my concerns were basically the same ones the state has. We have federal guidelines, basically a deadline in April around ADA compliance and accessibility. And of course, the state has been working on that. And we've had major hirings at the state level to get this done and see that through. And of course, we're talking about not only websites, but applications that are public facing. And so we have the same issue here for with our municipal site. And of course, appreciate all the work that the staff have been doing on the site. Of course, it's 10 years old. It was built on WordPress, and it's not ADA compliant by any stretch, right?
Right.
And so we need to find a company that supports that effort, and Civic Plus seems to fit that bill. So, we discussed around security, ADA compliance, functionality, type of support they provide. They did a demo for us. They showed how the different staff could maintain the website, how they can more easily maintain the meetings, all sorts of different events that they put on the site, the calendar. And so we did that. And then we set up a meeting for Craig, who's the director of Parks and Rec, to also meet in the Civic Plus, because Craig has a different site, right? So we have our town website, and then we have the Parks and Rec website, which is different, right? It's a really different design because they're managing events and classes and booking different types of buildings, not too many buildings, but there's a little bit of that. Being able to charge folks for tickets and different events, all this kind of type of work they do. And Craig comes from Denver and comes from other towns that, had these types of websites, but he also was very impressed with them. We did a demo with them, and they really walked through all the different functionality that they need as well. So he seemed very pleased with them as well. So where are we? Well, after that, let me just speak to that a little bit, because with Parks and Rec, they have integrated recreation management tools. They have automated payments and reporting. They have ADA focused accessibility tools like Audio Eye. It's kind of an AI functional tool that you can actually have it run against our website and the Parks and Rec website to make sure it's meeting ADA compliance. All right. And so we'll get more into that. I think the idea here will be that when we get down to brass tacks, Alex, who's the lead on the project, will do a presentation to this whole committee. He's actually going to come out to do it. And so we'll look at that. Also, we talked about, what the timelines are, what the costs are for website migration, right? The big cost will be that first year where you have to migrate all the content of a website from the existing platform to the new one, right? But then after that, it obviously drops probably by half to maintain. What we'll look to do is I wanted them to really get into a lot of detail, like line items, like what are the different costs, because there are different components that we could choose to use or not, right, to manage the cost. Again, the same idea here, everything that we do in town. Let's look at, hey, it'd be great to have the Taj Mahal, right, of a website, but if we can't do it all, let's pick what we feel is most important to get done. So what we'll be able to do is have some options. There's kind of like that base kind of option for website development, and then there's that more higher level development. And we can compare and decide as a town what we think are most important for our site, and for our citizens. What we're going to do is within the next couple of weeks, we're going to meet with Alex, and he's going to actually have basically a presentation with timelines, costs. You're able to work with towns too, like if we're looking at budgets, and we can get started on, and he can find ways to, delay costs, delay charging until later in the year. They also have different ways, different contracts with different organizations. I think we work with DAS. There's a couple other different third-party companies or organizations that can help with getting discounts, getting the cost down, much like we have with the state of Connecticut. So that's all coming. Civic Plus did provide a demo recording, so I can forward that link to you guys. There's an itemized spreadsheet that gives you at least high-level costs, right? High-level items on there. And there was this other tool, which was separate. One of the issues at the state that we have are all the PDF documents that are uploaded for citizens to, digest. And so a lot of those aren't accessible. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so they also have this tool, which they presented, and I ran against our site that identifies, hey, what is the percentage of documents that are accessible? We're at about 51%. of our documents meet accessibility.
That's actually.
That's actually
Not bad,
a little
right?
higher than I
I
thought.
know. I didn't think it was too bad.
That's pretty good.
So that's that. But you can see there's a lot of tools that we'll have to assess and make determinations. Hey, this is what we absolutely have to have, right, to get done, to make our site ADA compliant and provide our citizens with a much more intuitive interface, right? 1 or 2 clicks, having these drop down menus where you can get right to where you want to get without clicking through multiple places to get there. So next step, we're scheduling this scoping meeting with Civic Plus. I think it's in a couple of weeks, right? The 19th. So that'll include this team here, Craig's team. So that's coming up. That'll include timing, what the budget is. And again, we'll meet in a couple of weeks. And then once we have that meeting, then we'll be, I think, well positioned to present that to the town council and the town.
So in terms of website migration, is part of that also removing like unnecessary web pages? Because there's a lot of old, outdated content that we just need to.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
great.
that's part of that project is to go through it. There's an awful lot of archived information there that people land on incorrectly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of it, you got to be careful with FOI, but like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we need COVID guidelines anymore, right? I mean, does that, I don't think that.
Please.
No, I mean, generally no, but I would just caution us, that as
right.
we're going through this process.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Civic Plus should have this pretty much down if they have a bunch of other customers.
They do.
But, Connecticut has its own municipal document retention guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Correct.
really it should be the RMLO going
Right.
through with Civic Plus to say, this is what category this falls under,
Right.
and this is the retention
That's right.
guideline.
That's right.
Because even though it's electronic documents, still applies.
That's right.
Yep.
And there's way of archiving. There's different
Good.
ways to archive documents that make them accessible if we need to get to them, but not to the public if they
Front
don't need
page.
them.
Yeah.
Because you
Right.
don't need them and they're not going to be of any use to them. But hey, if we need it, like you said, for FOI, absolutely, we have to have a place to store those documents.
Yep.
If we ever need to retrieve them, for sure. Yeah. So we'll get into all that. There's a lot to cover there, but I was impressed with them. Did you guys have any comments at all that you'd like to make at this time?
The only thing that I was worried about when they talked about the migration
Mhm.
and our minutes and agendas and so forth, and they said they would only upload a year's worth. That was concerning to me.
All right. So we have
because
to
that's
pursue that. Yeah,
something that needs to be available.
for sure.
The
Yeah, I agree
history
with
and
you.
Historical.
I might have missed that one.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen other Civic Plus sites. I forget what town I was looking at for something where it's almost like it's like a file share where like you click on a folder and you can download. Like there's
Archive.
ways you can do it. But no, we absolutely have to keep
Agreed.
all those archives
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
because they're helpful even to me if I've got to go back a couple years.
I
And
go back
Sure.
to
Yeah.
review things.
Oh, that's a
when
valid
questions come up.
For sure.
So you can fact check yourself.
Did I say that?
Someone on Facebook said I did.
Valerie, did you look like you were about to say something? But no? Okay.
I think they have a better archive system in their program where if you Google something, you might find archive documents as a resident on our page where there's archives, they're still available to us, but not able to be pulled just from a Google search.
Right.
That seemed like one of the big things that we run into is
Yeah, I think
documents.
that's right. I think the search is going to be a lot better across our site. It's going to be focused on our site. And I think that was part of our challenge too is, search engine technology is so much better now than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think, again, the citizens are going to just find it a lot easier to find that information for sure.
Great. Any other questions from the council?
Yeah, what time frame are you looking for us to do this migration?
Sure.
Not a leading question, but keep in mind, March is going to suck.
Oh yeah. No, understood.
As
So
does the second half of this month.
Yeah,
for the people
so
to prepare the budgets.
the idea was to try to get some semblance of a cost in front of you guys before March, right?
Okay.
So that was the intention, in fact, because they were pushing up, but I'm like, you know what? Because everybody's busy, but I'm like, you know what, guys, we really need to meet sooner because I'd like to get that in front of you guys for consideration, right? And hey, look, we've looked at Civic Plus. We haven't really interviewed anyone else yet, but I think this gives us a good baseline. And there are certain offerings they provide that no other company seems to have, and we'll get into what those are, and that can give us some food for thought as well. Because I'm all about comparing and get free quotes and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But I just thought, in the interest of time, at least getting this to you guys, with the idea that hey, if there's a timeline, I think we'd be shooting over the next year to get this done, kind of a thing. As a timeline. But again, we'll get some more specifics about, first of all, there's a whole process, right, to get this approved, right? And then, working out, what that timeline is going to be, having enough bandwidth for these guys to be able to work on that, right? We have to figure all that out. But they have they've had a lot of experience rolling these kinds of upgrades out to different, we're not the only town that has this issue, right? So they've got a lot of experience, it seems, and I was impressed with. There was a younger crew of people that seemed very intelligent and were really up on the technology. So I was impressed with the folks that have been presenting so far. So that gave me some, confidence. The other piece I just want to point out too, while I think of it, is because we also met with our IT support consultant company, Novus. And I talked with him briefly about what we were looking at for websites, and he talked about the fact that we can integrate multi-factor authentication with administration so that it enhances the security. So not anybody can get in there easily to kind of play with our site, right? That's an issue. I mean, any state, municipality, we're much more exposed kind of to these ne'er-do-wells, right? So it's important that we have enhanced security on this system as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything
Okay.
else?
No, that's it.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for all your hard work on this.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the town for helping him.
Yeah, thanks,
make
you
it
guys. I
happen. Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very, very much. Very, very much. That brings us to 9D. Any other new business? Any other new business from the town manager? Any other new business from the council? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine in nature, which the council may not need to discuss individually and may be voted on as a group. Any council member who wishes to discuss a particular item in this section may request the chair to remove it for later discussion and a separate vote if necessary. And so far, all we have here are the minutes from January 22nd, 2026. And I thought I had something, so please bear with me. I just want to make sure that I didn't have anything on this one. Maybe I didn't. No, I did not. Did anyone else have any edits or changes to the minutes?
Nothing.
All right, I'll read the motion. Move that the town council approve the following consent agenda items and motions contained therein as if individually adopted. Approval of minutes, January 22nd, 2026, regular meeting. Hearing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. If you wish to abstain, Jan Lawrence.
Jan Lawrence, aye.
Claudia Riley.
Claudia Riley, aye.
Keith Pettit.
Keith Pettit, aye.
Sean Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald, aye.
And myself, Tiffany Teely, aye. Thank you. Item 11, liaison reports. AHM, Sean Fitzgerald.
Yep, their yearly budget meeting is Tuesday. So I have nothing to report at this moment, but I will have a report for you at the next meeting.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you. I'm up next with Hebron Board of Ed. They meet next Thursday. And so, like Sean, I will have an update next meeting. Brings us to 11C, Board of Finance. Keith Pettit.
The Board of Finance had their first meeting on their new schedule, Tuesday, the 22nd. Was it?
7th.
7th, sorry. I actually had to miss it because of a work event, which came up at the last minute. But I did go through their minutes. They discussed some stuff regarding financial procedures that they're going to start going through.
Great.
And also talking about different things related to the upcoming budget and the budget schedule. And they approved the stretcher item that we forwarded to them from our meeting.
Wonderful. That's great. D and E are all in Jan's arena. So first, open space.
Open space, the next meeting is next week, as is WPCA, so I have nothing to report for either one,
Okay.
but I will next time.
All right. And then lastly, 11F, Ram Board of Ed. Claudia?
I actually have something to report.
Ah,
So
good for you.
they met on January 26th. So I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the controversy surrounding the athletic director and the resignations and or firings of various coaches. There were quite a few public comments with respect to that particular situation, lots of sensitivities, lots of very confidential personnel matters. So, I don't envy Heather and Colin for having to deal with navigating all of that. So people got a chance and the opportunity to be heard. There's more to come on that. And like I said, I don't envy them. Moving on, the student report, the student liaison reported that the RAM students won one trial in the mock trial competition. Right? So RAM students continue to really excel in and outside the classroom. So don't argue with that kid because you're going to lose. The superintendent's report. So talked about the new group of Columbia students, and they have really talked to those families and those students to see how it's going. What's their experience been like so far at RAM? Also, in anticipation of continuing to grow that group of students, increasing that revenue line, they have created actually a really nice video that highlights RAM, really well done, produced in-house, and actually narrated by a RAM student. So that was really kind of neat. So they're using that and also pamphlets to market to Columbia families to have them consider sending their children to RAM. So congratulations on that really great idea. Let's see. So 2026, 2027 budget preview. If you may or may not have heard, they are currently proposing a 4.77% increase. That would increase the total budget to $34.176 million. Of that, 73% of that $34.176 million is going to employees' salaries and benefits. And what are the drivers? The drivers, of course, insurance, salary, transportation, and supplies. There have been some reductions, elimination of 4 full-time employees, and also anticipating some continued and increased tuition offsets from Columbia residents. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you for that. And that brings us to item number 12, public comment. Same rules apply as before. Is there anyone in person who would like to make comment? Come on up, Dave.
Thank you, Madam Chair and council members. David Souza, 278 West Street, Hebron. I'm speaking as a resident, not in my capacity as Commissioner of Planning and Zoning. And I'm speaking specifically about the letter I sent you. Thank you, Andy, for putting it into the agenda package. I attended the meeting last week with the Public Works and their consultant presenting the $4 million reconstruction of Martin Road from the town line of Marlborough all the way east to Route 85. And this project came before us for public review about 3 or 4 years ago, 2022. By the way, that meeting was held on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the morning, which I don't consider to be extremely sincere in terms of seeking public involvement. So a lot of people weren't happy about that. A lot of people couldn't attend. That's a footnote. But the other aspect of it is a lot of us are concerned and disappointed that the work is going to improve Martin Road considerably, meaning it's going to improve the pavement, it's going to widen the road, it's going to create 10-foot driving lanes with 2-foot shoulders that are identified by a white stripe. And it's going to improve some of the grades of Martin Road, and it's going to improve some of the intersections. What's going to happen, we fear, and undoubtedly in my mind, what's going to happen is that speeding will increase on Martin Road because it's going to be smoother, it's going to be straighter, it's going to be faster. and people already speed. The posted speed limit is 35 miles per hour. Routinely, people drive at 45. I don't think anybody drives in a 45. I do when people tailgate me. In addition to people speeding at 45, many people, I don't know the percentage, but many people are driving over 50, some much higher than 50. This is the situation that has occurred in the last 10 years. It's been aggravated by post-COVID behavior. It's been aggravated by inattentiveness and distracted driving because of these. And I think there's been a lot more crashes in town. I know on West Street, there's been a lot of crashes. I know on West Street, there's been a lot of near misses. I walk or run on the road, both West Street and Martin Road, almost every day. And I can tell you, I've had 4 near misses in the last 2 years. I've had a neighbor who was run over by a car. She was at the intersection of Martin Road and West Street, went to cross the street, and the car stopped for her, and she proceeded, there's no crosswalk, and she proceeded, she was hit and thrown across the street and broke her hip.
30 seconds.
So my request is for the town council to ensure that the town, through the public works and the consultant, look at complete streets and other traffic calming measures on Martin Road right now before it's bid. Second, that the town council implement a townwide complete street study or report. By the way, that recommendation is part of the 2024 Conservation and Development, so a specific action item. Thirdly, that the town consider installing automated traffic speed enforcement, a la Marlboro's speed enforcement program, and speed cameras, in other words. And I think it's warranted because of the dangers associated with our residential collector streets, especially. And I think it's important considering driving behavior. And I think we need you to wrap up. I think it's important considering the history of crashes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Anybody else in person for public comment? Come on up, Terry.
Aaron McManus, 169 North Street, Hebron, Connecticut. Madam Chair, in a different meeting the other night, I again could not curtail my comments under 3 minutes, and again was cut off, righteously and by the rules cut off. My emotions again flared. I just don't understand what happened, but it did. But not so much at any individual or any role, but at myself and believing I can keep an off-the-cuff comment under 3 minutes. I sit there, do it. I said, you can't. Do it. I said, you can't. I did it and I couldn't. So I was mad at myself. But later, when I asked myself why I felt so frustrated, I realized that I could give only planned comments, such as what I'm trying to do right now. This fact disallows any response at the end of the meeting and might address anything that was said at the meeting. In practice, this structure favors only those exceptionally nimble of thought and speech, of which I am not. I believe since having to adhere to the rules of this assembly will lessen community members' ability to add value at community meetings. That's my major concern. I urge the council to consider whether the 3-minute rule best serves the goal of informed public participation. Prepared. Now I'm going to try a quick ad hoc. I get it. COVID was a nightmare. It killed so many meetings. Disruptive, angry, and government bodies tried to respond. And they did. I believe the 3-minute rule is an extension of that time frame. But as a pendulum swings, you can go too far. And then you also have arbitrariness. I've been cut off right at 3 minutes more than once, where other members are allowed to speak over the time. It creates dissatisfaction, disagreement, disgruntledness. But I have to ask the board that your impression of, wouldn't you like to ask some questions of some of these comments? Those rules work both ways. I leave frustrated, and I imagine that some board members leave frustrated. I urge us to revisit this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And then we'll move online. It looks like we have one person with their hand raised, Holly. So Holly, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Town Council. I apologize. So Holly Havoc, 98 East Street. Speaking on behalf of the Town Center project, I neglected to share with the Town Council and the community that the town of Hebron, Andy's office, Dory, Matt, and Craig are working very diligently and thoroughly with the Town Center project to establish a 250th celebration sign for the center of our town for this to be displayed for the entire year. We'll be able to interchange our events that will be on there. We'll also be able to host other events when we're working with people like St. Peter's and the Historical Society that are also hosting 250 events. So I just wanted to let the town council know that Andy's office and Dory and Matt are really very supportive. And thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Holly. All right, I don't see anybody else online with a raised hand or any comments. So that brings us to item number 13 for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Can you give us the time?
8:41.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning?
Yeah.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned.